Sunday morning on CBS. And here again is Charles Osgood.
It's been more than 40 years since the musical Hair first appeared on Broadway, and now it's back. CBS Evening News anchor Katie Couric takes us front row center.
No, you're not hallucinating. That's the rock musical Hair, back on a Broadway stage. Performed by bona fide bead-wearing, peace-loving, pants-dropping Broadway actors.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Talk about deja vu. Opening night this past Tuesday had all the trappings of a 1960s sit-in, minus the marijuana.
The moment is here.
Pretty exciting. What was your opening night like?
Was our opening night like?
Yeah.
You know, a doctor came and gave us a shot in the ass. With vitamins and with amphetamine in it, believe it or not.
A lot's changed since James Rado and his creative partner, the late Jerome Ragney, first shook up Broadway more than 40 years ago with their critical, some even said radical, social commentary on America.
You opened at the Biltmore Theater on April 29th, 1968. That was just weeks after the assassination of Martin Luther King and less than 2 months before the assassination of Robert Kennedy. I can't imagine a more incendiary time in the nation's history. And here comes Hair, basically fanning the flames in a way.
Yes, but it also presented another possibility. It was about peace and love, reconciliation.
Hair was actually born a year earlier off-Broadway at Joseph Papp's Public Theater, which is where I sat down with Rado and music composer Galt McDermott.
Did you, either of you, have any conception what a huge long-term cultural statement it was about to make?
Well, we wanted it to be a sensation. We wanted it to be full of sensations for the audience. We wanted to bring the sensations that we experienced in the parks and in the streets of the East Village amongst this culture of hippies and war protesters and peace activists to a Broadway stage.
Evolution, if not a revolution, for the Great White Way. Audiences who came to the theater expecting guys and dolls would get hippies, betting their friends, burying their bodies, and burning their draft cards.
Some of these, in the hippie culture especially, they just wanted to create something of their own. They weren't just against something, they were for something. They were for a new way of life.
I got my hair, I got my head, I got my brains, I got my ears.
The casting process was groundbreaking as well. Producers made it clear that Juilliard grads need not apply.
In those days, there was a Broadway style of singing that we didn't want to use. So Jim and Jerry used to go out and look for people who weren't trained, but just natural talent.
By the time Hair put down roots at the Biltmore, Rado and Ragney had cast themselves in the show, singing to McDermott's counterculture music that was becoming mainstream.
The 60s, when we were doing it, was a wonderful time for American music. That's when rock and roll reached its peak, really. And so I was just influenced by everything I heard. And everything I heard I liked.
But not everyone was enamored. Original cast member Ted Neely recalls some bad Hair days as well.
We had bomb scares in the theater continually. We'd have to empty out the theater. It happened all the time.
That didn't stop the show from becoming an international sensation, making Rado and Ragney celebrities worthy of The Tonight Show.
And we're basically actors, and we just, we were watching what was going on in the world around us, and what was going on in the village here.
Would you like a rope and a tire, Jerry?
McDermott's songs were re-recorded by pop stars. Producing hit after hit.
Good morning, starshine.
After hit.
Is everybody clear who they're going in front of and who they're going behind? Okay, everybody's good?
It's the music that Hair's new 42-year-old director, Diane Paulus, remembers.
That's me. Go.
I understand Hair was your favorite musical growing up, but you had never actually seen the play. Is that true?
That's right. I grew up on the cast album.
In fact, Paulus says she was singing Sodomy around the house as a 10-year-old, blissfully unaware of its meaning. That song and the rest of Hair's original 33 musical numbers are completely intact in this revival.
Good morning, starshine. The earth says hello.
The only updating, she says, was done with dialogue.
I took some of the text from the original off-Broadway production in '67, lines that had been cut when it went to Broadway, because I thought they had resonance for our time now. There's a line where the father says at the be-in, "We're fighting a war, for God's sake."
We're fighting a war. Use atomic weapons and win it, for Christ's sake.
I thought, people will relate to that line. We've heard that in our politics in the last 5 years.
Where do I go?
The current production preserves yet another tradition from Hair's hippie heyday, and it's that part we can't show you, at least not on a Sunday.
Nudity still makes people feel a little bit uncomfortable. How about for you guys? Do you ever have a moment where, oh, God, why am I doing this? Or feel like, anyone have a fig leaf?
It's done in protest. It's not done in a sexual way at all, which I think often is the element that makes people uncomfortable.
How about you, Casey? Were you uncomfortable at all?
I wasn't, actually, and I thought I might be. I think if I had to do it alone, it would be a different experience altogether. But we're here as a group, and I think the point of taking our clothes off and making some people uncomfortable is so people will ask themselves, why am I uncomfortable looking at these naked bodies, but I'm not uncomfortable with these images of war?
But rather than reopening the old wounds of Vietnam, lead actor Gavin Creel says for him, the healing power of Hair hit home.
My dad was drafted, and we've never discussed it. And in a phone call, he was like, yeah, I got a letter from, your mom and I were at lunch. And then I came home, and there was a letter in the mail, and it was insane. I thought, thank God for this production and for this show, and that I'm a part of it, because it opened a dialogue between my dad and I,
And that perhaps is what will be Hair's greatest contribution this time around, getting those who never experienced the 60s zeitgeist together with those who did, to recognize how far we've come and dare to have golden living dreams of where we could go.
It's talking about serious things, maybe on a very naive level, but things that need to be still thought about and talked about.